Hello and welcome to the Ketogenic Diet Show. My name is Mary Beauchamp. I'm a registered nurse and therapeutic nutritionist. And I am here today with a very special guest. His name is Atar, and he's going to explain a little bit about his health journey. I'm just really excited to have him here to share with you because I think his story is so empowering and is going to be so helpful for so many people. So Atar, if you would just let us know kind of a little bit about what has happened to you in your health journey over the last many years. You're not that old. So, 20 something years, you're a young 20 something. Yeah. What led up to this and the changes that you decided to make on your own because of your health crisis that you were in that was very scary?
Yeah, so I've kind of had health issues on and off throughout my whole life. I think mostly autoimmune related, since I've always had really bad allergies. And when I was a kid, I used to get sick all the time, like a huge portion of the school year I was home sick, so I missed a lot. And yeah, I struggled with fatigue on and off as a kid, and then in my 20s or early, well, I'm 25 now, but when I was 20, my chronic fatigue started getting really, really bad, which actually kind of coincided with I went raw vegan for quite a while, I think 5 months. And at first I felt great, but all these other symptoms that I had had throughout my life, such as insomnia, chronic fatigue, anxiety, eczema, all these things started to get worse. And then at that point, I stopped doing the raw vegan diet because my anxiety was like going through the charts. And I started eating eggs again and eating more grounding foods. And then at that point, I started leaning more towards Ayurveda. And in hindsight, I don't think that's the best thing because like I was eating a lot of grains and stuff like that, like starting every day with oatmeal. And I had no idea about like insulin resistance and all of that. I knew that fats were good for you, but I didn't know how bad carbs were for you.
Mm,
Um, and then um, so around that same time, I guess 19 between 19 and 20 in 2015, I was 19. I went to a yoga teacher training in Sedona, Arizona, which was awesome, but it was very challenging because I already was dealing with the chronic fatigue, and we had to get up at like 4 in the morning. We had to be in the studio at 5, I think. So I would get up early, and we were instructed to take ice cold showers, and then I would usually meditate before I went in because we would do group meditation. I like to just kind of like center myself before going in. So I would get up super early, which at the time I was struggling with insomnia, like really bad. Like especially if I knew I had a morning obligation, it would make it worse. Like I would just be up all night with anxiety, knowing that I had to get up in the morning and be like, oh, I gotta get up early, so I have to sleep. And then thinking about that would keep me up. And so it was just this vicious cycle. So that was a month long intensive training. And by the end of it, I had like severe chronic fatigue. Like I'd wake up in the morning and fast for about an hour and do my morning yoga practice. And by the end of that, I'd have like a bowl of oatmeal or something, and I would just crash for the rest of the day. I could barely get off the couch, and I I tried all kinds of alternative treatments, herbs. I spent probably hundreds of dollars, even more, probably thousands of dollars on herbs, various herbs and supplements over the years. Tried all kinds of things, and some things, would help a little bit, but nothing really shifted me that profoundly. Like I was still struggling with chronic fatigue and insomnia and anxiety. Fortunately, I was able to combat my depression, which I had earlier on. I haven't really dealt with much depression um, in years, actually, so that's good. But yeah, then this past year, 2020, I was struggling with chronic fatigue still, and I got to like a critical point just a few months ago. And I'll add that I started, I guess, 2 years ago to kind of self-medicate with kratom. If people don't know what that is, it's a plant that comes from Southeast Asia, and it's similar. It has an opiate-like effect, although it's not an opiate, and the alkaloids fit into the opiate receptors in the brain. So I was using that because when I took it, I would have energy and my anxiety levels were reduced. I had more focus and clarity. Another thing that I may have not mentioned before is I've also had blood sugar issues, which I didn't really know about until recently. But I knew I would get low blood sugar, but I didn't realize that it was such a chronic thing until recently because it was getting really bad. Where like between meals, I would get super irritable and just feel awful. So anyway, back to the kratom, I was self-medicating with that, and I felt while I was taking kratom, I would feel practically normal and healthy, and that's why I took it basically every day. And so a couple months ago, I started experiencing a thing where my whole nervous system was inflamed, and my whole body for a few days, actually probably a week or two, my whole body felt numb. I couldn't really feel anything, and that was very troubling. And so I quit kratom cold turkey, which it does have some mild withdrawal symptoms, probably similar to like a caffeine withdrawal, but maybe a little bit worse. And I noticed like throughout the past 2 years since I've been taking kratom that whenever I would stop taking kratom for like a few days or a week, I thought I was experiencing really heavy withdrawal symptoms, which there probably was some withdrawal symptoms, but also I think I was returning to the way my body felt before I started taking kratom, which was like lethargic, achy, and irritable. And so I basically thought that I would have to stay taking kratom forever because it was the only thing that made me feel relatively functional and normal. But like I said, it got to a point where my body was shutting down. My nervous system was in serious trouble. So I quit cold turkey, and it had a really intense few days. First of all, withdrawal because my body was probably pretty dependent on it by that point, but also I was returning to how my body, or I should say, I was experiencing what my body was going through without the buffer, which was really intense before I started taking kratom. So yeah, for the past few months, I was actually bedridden for a great portion of that, just because I had no energy, and I decided to start doing a ketogenic diet, and I decided to go full on ketogenic, and that's what I've been doing for the past few months. I was still having these inflammatory responses to the food I was eating, even though it's all organic, healthy food. I'm and ketogenic, so like my blood sugar issues were stabilizing out, and I wasn't experiencing that so much anymore. But I was still experiencing this inflammatory response several hours after I ate, and it was like clockwork. Like I would eat, and then I would feel absolutely horrible. My whole nervous system, I guess you could call it neuropathy. My whole nervous system was in pain, like nervy, tingly, pins and needles kind of pain, mostly like in my hands and feet. But like I said, it would be kind of generalized throughout my whole body. And yeah, a friend of mine had been doing the carnivore diet for I think just over a year now, and he was struggling with a lot of the same issues I've been going through. And he said that the carnivore diet really helped with that. At first, I was really resistant to going full carnivore because I've been making sauerkraut and I love avocados, and that's kind of been my staple. I've already kind of been transitioning to carnivore while still maintaining a keto diet, but I've been eating mostly meat or eggs and avocado and sauerkraut. But it wasn't till the other day, just a few days ago, that I started cutting out everything except for meat that I started feeling way better. Like it's night and day. I literally feel like I'm in a different body than I was this time last week.
Mm.
All my chronic fatigue symptoms have vanished. I have been able to fall asleep easily. And yesterday I went for like 3 walks, and the day before that I did a workout. And usually I had like post exercise malaise, like I would be super fatigued and in pain and aching. And that's gone away. Like yesterday I felt fine. I didn't felt like a little bit of, healthy muscle soreness, but nothing like I used to experience. So yeah, things are looking good. um,
Wow. That's
feeling a
that's
lot better.
that is so awesome. I'm so excited to hear this. You really went through a lot of pain and suffering, right? Yours were big. I mean, you were bedridden, so that's huge.
Yeah.
And I would always just chalk it up to, oh, I worked out really hard yesterday, or I went on a long hike, or whatever it was. But it really,
Right.
um, it was such a profound shift for myself, and I thoroughly resisted becoming a carnivore. Like I just wouldn't accept that I couldn't have chocolate and black tea and my sauerkraut and my other things, and it doesn't have to be that extreme necessarily. We this all this inflammation is coming from the gut, so if we can heal the gut over time, there may be a time in the future, years down the road, where we can incorporate some small amounts of things once in a while, but
Right.
really.
Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. It's challenging to think that I would have to eat this way for the rest of my life, so I don't think about it like that. I just take it one day at a time, and really try to do the best I can, moment by moment during the day. And there are times when I have, plant foods occasionally, and I just, want to put it out there that as long as we have plenty of time to detox in between eating these plants that have these poisons in them,
Right.
we can maybe do okay, but it's all based on your body and how your body's responding and communicating to you. Let's just look at what the information that we're getting from our body is. And if we are in pain and we are tired and we are anxious and depressed and feeling, all of these different ways, that's not normal, and we've kind of normalized this as being chronic fatigue,
Yeah.
or, all these different labels that we can put on these things today. Or we just kind of slip through the cracks, and the doctors don't really know what's wrong with us, and they can't really give us a diagnosis. And sometimes it's helpful to
Right.
have a
And it
diagnosis, but it doesn't make it any easier.
yeah, and all these issues like stem from inflammation from these foods.
Yeah.
Um, like it's so apparent to me once I cut them all out. Like I said, I was pretty resistant, like between talking to you the other day and listening to the book. I was like, "Ah, I don't know if I can let go of my sauerkraut. Like I need my probiotics and fiber." Um, but just in this past few days, like I think the first couple of days, I kind of my head was thinking I'm doing the carnivore diet, but I was still eating those things. I was
Mm,
still eating the sauerkraut and avocado, and I was still having those inflammatory reactions after I ate. And
oh.
then the first day that I went full carnivore and made it all the way through the day, it was definitely challenging. And I was like a little depressed about the fact that I all I could eat was meat.
Uh,
But the following day, the mental clarity and the energy, I was like, geez, this is like amazing.
mm,
Like why would I go back?
right.
So I'm gonna stick with this for as long as I need to, and I'm really excited to start getting some organ meats.
Yeah. You ready to make some tallow?
Definitely, definitely. And
That's
in the meantime, if I can't get any from them, I might end up ordering some pre-rendered
mhm,
fat
yeah.
if necessity comes to that.
Yeah. And that's an option as well. Unfortunately or fortunately, lots of people are getting turned on to the health benefits of eating these saturated animal fats and organs, so they're getting harder to find. They used to be
Definitely.
stockpiled in freezers with the local farmers, and nobody wanted them, and now they're sold out every weekend. So I have to be careful how many people I say, oh, go to the farmer's market and ask this person or that person. And, because then there's none left for me. But yeah,
Right, right.
it's a great problem to have. And there's also, I encourage people to check out their local Weston Price chapter. Weston A. Price Foundation. You can find in your area. There's one in pretty much every town, city across America and internationally. So you'll find lots of great resources there for people that aren't even at farmers markets. And supporting these local farmers is really the key to restoring our ecosystem on the planet. So I am really passionate about finding grass-fed local animals as our food source, and even hunting and doing, these things that are more in alignment with our ancestral lifestyle and way of being, and being outside and in the sun and breathing fresh air. These are all part of this process. And like you mentioned, Atar, it's really about this conversation that our body's having with us. And if we're able to listen to it and hear it, we don't really want to go back to the way that we used to eat. And so it's a self-regulating process. And although you may not imagine yourself eating all animal products ever, or wanting to do that, which I totally understand, what keeps us here is how good we feel, and knowing that we don't want
Right.
to feel the way we did, And so I just want to encourage everybody to choose the path that works for you in terms of evolving in this direction. But if you are doing keto and you've had good results, but you've run into some reoccurring roadblocks, then maybe it's time to change things up. And I've been doing keto long enough with people to know that it doesn't work for everybody. And many of the reasons are because the keto low carb foods, unfortunately, are very high in these anti nutrients that cause severe inflammation in a lot of people. The oxalates, the lectins, the phytates, all these things that are really destroying our digestive tract. When it comes down to it, what you're left with are the foods without anti nutrients and the foods that are most nutrient dense, which are going to be these animal fats, animal proteins, and animal organs, really. So that's like the multivitamin. And for some people, it's so severe that they can't even take encapsulated multivitamins anymore, or minerals, because their body just will not tolerate any artificial nutrients going in. And when you buy a pill from the store, you're getting the synthetic version of these minerals and nutrients and vitamins. And a lot of times the body just cannot convert it, and you don't do as well. So you have the side effects, and you're not getting the benefits, and you're spending a lot of money that's just getting excreted out in your urine with these expensive supplements. And really what we need is whole foods. So I really love your story, Atar, and I just thank you so much for sharing it, because it's really powerful that you took yourself from being literally in pain, bedridden, couldn't get up, to actually feeling for the first time in maybe your whole life just how good it can feel to be in your body.
I mean, it's interesting because you're talking about all these plant foods that have oxalates. When I first started the ketogenic diet, I immediately felt, good shifts because my blood sugar issues.
Mm-hmm.
But my autoimmune issues were still flaring up
Uh-huh.
from all the plant foods I was eating. And when I first started keto, I was like, yeah, I'll start making nut butters. Like
Mm.
I was eating tons of nuts, and
Uh-huh.
I noticed pretty like soon in that the nuts were one of the worst foods for me. Like it was immediate. Like I'd eat, right, and chocolate. I was making raw chocolates. I was all excited about that. I was like, these are high in fat. Like this is all good. But yeah, I'd have like immediate effects when I'd eat nuts and chocolate and stuff like that.
Yes,
Where,
nuts
like I said,
are.
my whole body would just be in pain
uh
for hours.
yeah, that is so intense. I'm so sorry that you had to experience that, but how profound that you can actually see how quickly your body responds when you do something different. And that's so inspiring.
Yeah, it was like a quantum leap because I've been doing the keto for a few months, or probably around 3 months now. Um, and it was like this gradual progression of feeling like a little bit better, week by week. And then I started carnivore, and within 3 days, it was like a quantum leap. Like if you looked at a graph, it would be like slowly, gradually going up, and then it's just like ka-ching, like just a huge jump.
Oh, wow.
Um, and
That's
yeah, I'm feeling great.
that's awesome.
I don't have a hard time letting go of foods if if they make if there's like a visceral response. Like I feel, if I feel so much better, Like I'd rather feel good not eating those foods than having the enjoyment and the experience of eating those foods. Like the feeling good outweighs the pleasure from eating those foods for me. Um,
Yes,
so yeah,
absolutely.
it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's it's hard to imagine that for me personally, that I would ever let go of my green smoothie, my black tea every day. I mean, for years that was my ritual. Um, and the chocolate. I mean,
Right.
I love my chocolate, and I can't tell you how difficult that was to give up. And once in a while, I still have a little bit here and there, but I feel it, and it's enough for me to say, this is not a friendly food for me. And I just want everybody to hear this message because I'm so passionate about that we have to return to the real foods and the whole foods that are not toxic. And we just don't know because we haven't been taught, and nobody's guiding us along this path. We have to really kind of figure it out ourselves. And I just feel like hearing stories like yours, Atar, really helps people understand that they can do this too. And it's actually going to simplify their life.
Hmm.
And, it's right in our backyard. So it's about connecting the dots with the local farmers, your farmers market, Weston Price Foundation, or even a friend that's a hunter. So I just
Definitely.
encourage everybody to start exploring this for themselves. Start adding in organ meats. It's like your multivitamin. It is so nutrient dense. It's like a powerhouse of nutrients. And we've both been in this yogi world and the raw food world and the vegan world for so long, kind of straddling the two. And this is definitely the extreme opposite of that. And what I
Definitely.
yeah, it feels so strange, but yet so good at the same time that wow, it's like I finally cracked the code. I finally figured this out, and I had to let go of my belief system around all of this, and it was
Yeah.
not easy. Here I'm a nutritionist, and these are what we've all been taught are the healthiest foods we can eat, and it's just we've been completely brainwashed to believe something that is all for the consumer market to buy into. And it's
Yeah.
about profit, and it's not necessarily based on science or based on real facts or evidence.
Yeah. It's ideological. It's like all these people think these plants they're eating are good for you. All these supplements they're taking are synthetic, and they have no idea the harm that they're doing. I had no idea, definitely,
Yeah.
but I can totally notice the difference.
Well, I'm so glad you're feeling better, and it's just going to keep evolving and unfolding and blossoming. I hope for you that you just keep feeling better and better. And once in a while, we have to test it out, and say, oh, maybe I can go back to eating that again, and
Right.
have the bowl of blueberries or whatever, and then you realize, yeah, I can't do that yet. um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we get to listen to our body and really respond accordingly, or we just don't feel good. So this is really coming down to the survivorship of humanity. I feel, and by eating mostly inflammatory foods, which the majority of people are doing, we have incredibly high rates of metabolic syndrome and neurodegenerative disorders and all sorts of chronic um, disease that we never had before. And it's affecting our ability to reproduce and survive viral infections. And those two things right now are super important. And we really need to pay attention to how
Mm-hmm.
can we strengthen our immune system so that we do not have autoimmune reactions, which is a sign that our immune system is struggling. Or we overreact. Our immune system's overreacting. That's why we have these cytokine storms that are um, really devastating this population of people that have predisposition with existing metabolic syndrome, right? So I just want to encourage everybody that you can change your health in your home without a prescription. And we all have the power to do that if we have the right information. So keep seeking, keep learning, keep exploring, and you you will get there. And I just want to leave you with that. And Atara, is there anything else that you might want to add? Just if there was something you could say to everybody, if you had the microphone and you got to stand up on the stage with all the people listening, what would you want to leave them with?
Oh, just that it's definitely worth it if you're having metabolic issues. If you feel like your body's always inflamed, um, get past your preconceptions about it and just give it a try,
Mm.
even just for a week. And like for me, it was almost instantaneous, the results. So um, yeah, that's all I gotta say is give it a try. If you're not feeling good and you want to feel good.
Uh-huh. That's awesome. Well, I so appreciate that message, Atar, and I would say the same thing. Just dive in, go all in, and see what changes you notice, and stick with it, because you can do this. And I encourage all of you to give it a try. And so, with that being said, I just want to leave you all with where you can find more of my work, which is at www.ketogenicdietcoach.com. I talk a lot about carnivore keto diets, and also how to do the keto diet the right way, and also beginning with a gut healing protocol that is plant free, which I believe is the best way for everybody to start a keto diet. So you will know when you start adding things back in if they are going to work for you or not. You can spend thousands of dollars on food sensitivity testing and gut testing and all this other stuff, but it's not necessary to get started the right way, without any of that. I just encourage you to keep seeking. And like I said, if you like this video and if you want more information about these things, you can find that at ketogenicdietcoach.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll also get updates on new videos that I post. So thank you so much, Atar, again, and have a wonderful day, everyone.